Hi, I'm Samuel Prather, Reason user since 2003. Welcome to A Reason to Create. What I wanted to talk about today was all the comments that I got about things that I left out of my last video about mixing. I knew it would be a hot button topic, but I had no idea how many suggestions I would get about things that I needed to add or left out. And so I wanted to touch on some of those things in a separate video. So here it goes. Most of the comments were like, why aren't you using the SSL mixer to do blank, 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 and blank? So I just want to give a quick explanation to why I did things the way I did in the last video, and then I'll also show you the way I use the SSL mixer when I do use it. There are two parts to mixing, at least the way that I think about it. So there's the part of mixing where we clean, and then there's a part of mixing where we bring everything together. Those things happen separately. I like to do the cleaning portion individually on the channels, and I like to do the mixing together part on the SSL board. If you haven't already checked out my last video, I highly encourage you to do that because this one won't make very much sense without at least taking a look through that one. This is where we talk about the rest of the process. And so what I want to talk about first, one of the first comments I got was, what about gain staging, bro? You didn't even mention that. Purposefully, because like I said, that's a mixing board function. But the other reason I didn't mention gain staging is because it's not as important as it used to be. What I would say on this topic is don't record it too hot, don't export it too hot, and you won't have a problem. Just do what sounds good to you. Don't worry about gain staging, worry about all these other things that I've mentioned, because trust me, they're a lot more important to getting a good mix. I'm not saying it's not helpful, but it's definitely not something that you would want to allocate your time on instead of going through and scrubbing your EQs, for example. All right, so I opened up my file that I used on another video that I did on why you should use blocks in Reason. When I shot that video, I did a very quick and dirty mix so that you could get an idea of what it might sound like roughly if it actually had some kind of master on it, but that's not what I would use for a commercial product. One of the first things that I would probably do differently is I would just take the whole Reason drum kit section and get the kick drum and the snare drum in particular out to separate tracks because I want to treat those separately. I hit tab so I can see the routing on the back. And I just right click, route to new mix channel. I'm gonna name them. Which should happen automatically. Reason, figure that out, please. Okay. And I also like to just get rid of the right channel and just deal with these two particular instruments in mono. Hit tab to flick back over. I'm gonna drop my mono mix channel template on both of them. And then I'm gonna solo them out and start the cleaning process. Okay, so I'm actually pretty happy with the way that the kick sounds so far. That's something I really won't know for sure until I hear it with the bass though. Notice that because I'm using the saturation on my template, I'm not using the saturation on the actual Reason drum kits. Don't use both, just use one or the other. I'm gonna repeat the same process for the snare drum. The next thing that I'm probably gonna take a look at is the bass. I can just click on rack to get straight to that place in the rack. I cheated and just threw a bass amp in. I am gonna put my mixing template on this channel. Before I do that, because it is gonna clear out everything in the channel, I am gonna copy my actual soft tube bass amp so that I can just put that in my channel. All right, I pasted in my bass amp into my template. Notice it's not routed properly, so I'm gonna fix that. Remembering to keep it mono as I go through my chain. Compact everything that you're not using. Once you're done with it, compact it so you don't have to see all of the stuff that's working underneath. We're finished with the Reason drum kits. We're finished with the kick. We're finished with the snare. And we're also finished with the bass. That makes our work area a lot less cluttered. Let's go to the guitar. Okay, so I'm a terrible guitar player, and so one of the reasons I like to use my template as opposed to try to do this in the SSL is that if I want to add another 2 bands of EQ cleaning, I can, or 4 bands or whatever that I need to get my sound clean. So I'm going to do that here. So in this case, what I did with the guitar is I used the saturation to help bring the highs out without messing with the lows. So that's what I wanted from it. I'm also going to cut the bottom later on when I get to the actual SSL mixer. More tracks to clean up. Yay! I was really lazy. I just left all 3 of these things in the same track when I mixed this the first time. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I really need this bass drum anymore, so I'm gonna mute it. I'm gonna call the new channel clap, and I'm just gonna leave the tambourine where it is. So I'm just gonna relabel the drum machine tambourine. All right, in this case, I don't think I need more than 2 bands of cleaning, so I'm just gonna leave it like it is. Tambourine is relatively easy to clean out. I'm gonna speed up the attack here because I don't want this to be right out front. I used to think that I could skip this process because Reason does such a great job with their samples, but the truth of the matter is, it's such a subjective thing that if you're mixing the track, then you need to go through all of these and make sure there's no frequencies that you don't want being amplified later on in the process present. Okay, so now that I've cleaned everything, This is what it sounds like. All right, so something's still clipping on my master fader, so I'm gonna deal with this. I know the gain staging folks would be like, see, you should have gain stage, but I promise it's really not that big a deal, and we're gonna deal with it in a second. Okay, so if you were waiting for the part where I'm gonna get to the SSL mixer, sorry, this took a lot longer to get through the cleaning part than I really allotted for, and it is a couple days before Christmas, and I want to make sure that I actually get to spend some time with my family. So I'm going to save the second part where I get to the mixer for the next video. Don't shoot me. I promise it'll be worth the wait. Hopefully I gave you something that was helpful to you today that you can use in your own production, and that I gave you a reason to create.